So now we're going on to our second MLS match where we have Nashville taking on the Columbus Crew today. The time for this game, so I forgot to tell you guys what times these games start. Let me get that for you guys right now. So our first game is at 12 when Orlando City faced New England in Orlando, and then Columbus and Nashville at 5. So with this matchup, it's a really interesting matchup because the Columbus Crew are the favorites. They looked like a favorite out of the Eastern Conference right when Philadelphia and Toronto were eliminated. But, this matchup now could, quite frankly, swing in the way of Nashville because on Wednesday, the Crew announced that 4 players had tested positive. Now, later in the week, they now have 6 players who have tested positive. So, they haven't released the names of the players that are out. So it's kind of hard to predict this game, not knowing which players are out. Nashville could be the favorites to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. It was going to be a challenging game already, but I just can't see Columbus winning this game with 6 players out. I don't even know the names, though, of the players that are out. They're going to have to change most of that team around, which is going to be difficult. So the names of the players who have tested positive are not public, so I don't know which players are out. But this game is still going to go on. In 2020, they met once on September 19th when the Crew won 2-0. Their goals by Pedro Santos and José Zardes. So it's really difficult for me to predict this match, not knowing which players are out for both sides. But, that's the most difficult thing about trying to predict this game. But what I think is going to be an interesting matchup is José Zardes on Walker Zimmerman. The 2 United States men's national team teammates, they're going to go at it with each other. José Zardes, he's going to be he's one of the top goal scorers for the Columbus Crew. And Zimmerman is the main piece to that Nashville defense. That's why he won the MLS Defender of the Year award. For Columbus Crew, they're just gonna have to feed it to their Brazilian midfielder, Pedro Santos. He can do a lot. He's very dangerous with the ball at his feet. And then for the Nashville, it'll be Randall Leal, the Costa Rican winger. He's super dangerous. They're going to be Columbus Crew is already going to be without their right back in Harrison Affle. So that'll be interesting. Nashville's going to keep targeting that side of the defense. And then we don't know which other players are out for the Columbus Crew. So it's very difficult to predict this match, not knowing who's out. Yes, we know a lot of players are out. There's only going to be 5 players. There's only going to be 5 players who are still in the lineup from last time. Columbus Crew did play Nashville recently, but I am going to go with Nashville here just because we know more about them. They're a good team. This is going to be very difficult for Columbus Crew to get a lot from their bench, and especially against a very veteran Nashville side. And they have a lot of confidence from their playoff wins, so I'm definitely going to go with Nashville in this game. I just feel like I can't go with Columbus Crew knowing that 6 players are out. I don't know if they're key players, but they are 6 players, so they're just going to have to rely on their bench too much, which I don't think is going to be able to get it done. I'm going to go 2-0 Nashville in this game. So I believe that the Eastern Conference Finals will be Nashville, and they will take on. I believe that it will be in the Eastern Conference Finals. It'll be Nashville SC, and they will be taking on the Orlando City. Sorry, but yeah. So next we're going to head to the NFL, where we have some good games today that we are going to preview. Starting off with our 10 a.m. games, we are going to head to Buffalo for the Bills and the Chargers game, 10 a.m. on CBS. So, yeah, we're going to transition over to the NFL now. So, the Bills will come into this game at 7-3. Chargers will come into this game at 3-7. The thing about the Chargers is they could be a very good team, but they always, blow leads. That's the thing that always hurts the Chargers. But let's go ahead and break down this Chargers and Bills matchup. The Chargers, they have a lot of question marks on their defense. They have Harris back, but their secondary took a big loss. They're going to be missing Hayward. Their pass rush is going to be big for them. If their pass rush can't get to Josh Allen, then their secondary is really going to have to step up and stop that Bills offense, which I don't think they want to do. So the Chargers' pass rush is going to have to get to Josh Allen. Buffalo, they're going to be coming off a bye. But the last time that we saw them was that horrible loss when they lost when Kyler Murray connected with DeAndre Hopkins. But this is a really good Bills team that looks like they're going to take the division for the first time in 25 years. For the Chargers, it doesn't look good for their playoff chances. They're 3-7. They can never hold on to leads, which I don't know if they're going to have a lead today. Justin Herbert is a really good quarterback. He's been a really solid quarterback this year. The offense has been getting going. It's really just been the secondary that has hurt the Chargers. They haven't been able to make key defensive stops, and I think that's really what has hurt the Chargers in this matchup. But Justin Herbert is a really good quarterback. He has the 9th best passer rating in the NFL. He's averaging 8 yards per attempt at a pass. He's a very good rookie. He's just going to have to look for Keenan Allen, finding Keenan Allen today. He has 112 targets this season. But he's going to be guarded by Tre'Davious White, which is going to be difficult. But as for their run game, they're not really going to have much of a run game today. In the past, but Eckler and Josh Jackson were out. Eckler has been activated, and he is most likely going to play. But the Bills' defense, they rank last in defensive rushing success, so that could be big for the Chargers. Josh Allen's been one of the best quarterbacks in 2020. The Bills have the most passing success. Stephon Diggs, he's going to be big today. He's had 73 receptions this season. He averages 12 yards a catch. Devin Singletary's having a decent season. He's averaging 4 yards a carry. The Chargers are weak against the run, so expect them to go to Singletary a lot in this game. But I see this being a good game. I see Justin Herbert showing that off his arm, and I think that both of these teams are going to make this a high-scoring game. Both of them are struggling with their secondary, so expect this to be a little bit of a shootout. But I think that the Bills will pull away in that type of game. So I am going to take Buffalo 38-28 in this game. Let's move on to our next game, it's another 10 a.m. game. This is a huge game, though. We have the Titans and the Colts. This game could very well decide the division. It could very well decide who wins that division in this game. The Titans coming into this game, they're both 7-3. So whoever wins this game will be first in the division between the Titans and the Colts. So let's go ahead and get into this preview. So, Tennessee, their offense looked good against Baltimore. They look better. The Tennessee's offense looks better than it did. They look better than they did at against the Colts when they lost by 17. The run game is fantastic. That's going to be something that the Colts are going to have to stop, is that beast in the backfield, Derrick Henry. That defense has been decent for the Titans. They've been able to force takeaways. Indianapolis didn't give up any in that first matchup, but the Titans, they just really haven't been able to force mistakes on the road. Jonathan Taylor is out, so for their main running back for the Colts, they're not going to have. The Titan defense has struggled against the run, so without their top running back, that might not be too much of a problem. But the Colt offensive line, they're going to have a chance to control the game. And they're ranked second best defensively as far as their defensive rating, so they're going to have to stop. Their hardest thing for them is going to be stopping Derrick Henry, and that's the way that they win the game. Is going to be stopping Derrick Henry. But it's really hard to beat a team twice. The Colts are at home, though. They already pulled off the hard win. Now this one should be a little bit easier at home. But for the Colts, they're just going to have to slow down the Tennessee pass game. Rely on Rivers. But I think that it's just going to be too hard for them to stop Derrick Henry. And I think that Titan defense does maybe force a takeaway. I think that they do enough to win this game. So I am going to take Tennessee in this game. I think that this series is going to be split. Give me the Titans 24-21 in a close one here. Moving on to our next game. It's another 10 a.m. game. We have the Panthers taking on the Vikings. So the Panthers come into this game 4-7, and the Vikings come into this game 4-6. The Panthers are coming off a win. But for this game, this could be a big game because, the Vikings, they're trying to get back in it. They haven't had a great season. But they're trying to get back in the race and finish off this season pretty good. But let's go ahead and preview this game. Teddy Bridgewater is going to be back for Carolina. He's still hurt, but he is most likely going to go. The Minnesota secondary has really struggled. So having, if he does come back, having Bridgewater back is going to be huge for the Panthers. But Carolina, they're going to throw a lot with Teddy Bridgewater, so it's going to be difficult for that Vikings secondary. But they shut out. That's a good Panther defense. They shut out Detroit last week. The defensive front, they've allowed fewer than 70 yards in the last 6 games. They're going to have their passing game take over for the Panthers. But another thing for the Panthers, they are going to be without Christian McCaffrey again, still dealing with that injury. It's Bridgewater, a main storyline. He's going to be going up against his former team, the Minnesota Vikings. The Dalvin Cook, I expect him to run all over the Panthers' defense. It's just going to be really difficult. The Buccaneers were able to pound over the Panthers with that run game. They almost scored 50 points on them. But the Vikings also lead the NFL in yards per attempt. So expect a lot of big plays down the field. Expect the Vikings offense to get going. Adam Thielen is going to be out, but expect him to target Justin Jefferson in this game. Minnesota has struggled. That Dallas game showed it, but I expect them to get back. I think that offense will be able to throw. I think that Dalvin Cook will just do too much against the Carolina defense. And I think that we could see a whole lot of yards from both sides. And I think this game will be pretty high scoring. I'll take Minnesota 31-20 in this one. Moving on to our next 10 a.m. game in the NFL here today. We have the Browns taking on the Jaguars. This game is on CBS. Browns coming into this game 7-3. Jaguars coming into this game 1-9. The Jaguars, they're going to be going to their new quarterback. Should be interesting. They're pretty much, done this season with 9 losses and only a win this season. So for this game, the Browns, they're coming off a 2-game winning streak. The Browns, they're coming off a 2-game winning streak coming into this game. And they've played in some terrible weather in the past few weeks. And it also calls for rain in Jacksonville this Sunday. Baker Mayfield, he's been a decent quarterback this season. He's thrown for 1,850 yards. Has 15 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. He threw for 204 yards against the Eagles. But Cleveland, they have one of the best running back duos in the NFL. They have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. They have Chubb, who he rushed for 114 yards last week against Philadelphia. And Kareem Hunt struggled last week. He had 13 carries for just 11 yards. They're going to be facing a Jacksonville defense that allowed 129 rushing yards per contest and allowed 106 last week to the Steelers. But the Browns defense, they do have some injury issues. Myles Garrett's going to miss his second game with a positive COVID test. And also their other linebacker, Sione Takata, will as well. Denzel Ward still dealing with that knee injury. He'll miss. But this is a banged up Browns defense. But they're going to face a Jacksonville offense that averages 20 points per game. They've only scored just 93 points in their last 5 games, so that's not really going to matter much, even though they're missing most of their defense. The Jaguars are on a 9-game losing streak. Last week they put Jake Luton in at quarterback. He threw 4 interceptions in that loss. And they are going to go to Mike Glennon for the first time this season. So let's see what he can do. This is going to be the 6th Jacksonville quarterback since 2018, and Glennon hasn't appeared in a game since November 24, 2019. He's going to try to go to DJ Chark and Keenan Cole, and they are facing a pretty banged up Browns defense. The Browns defense is allowing on average 266 passing yards per game. They had a couple interceptions to Philadelphia. Their running back James Robinson has looked pretty good for Jacksonville. He had 73 rushing yards last week against Pittsburgh. But that Jacksonville defense, they've allowed a lot of points, 151 total points over the last 5 games. And they have to play a Browns defense with a great backfield, and Baker Mayfield's looked pretty good this season. Jacksonville's going to be in a lot of trouble with that backfield. Baker Mayfield, he could have a pretty good game with how he's been playing, so I am going to take Cleveland. Jacksonville is 1-5 in their last 6 games against AFC opponents. So yeah, I'm going to take Cleveland. Give me the Browns 28-13. Should be a pretty easy win for them. Next, in our next game, we have another 10 a.m. game. We have the Giants taking on the Bengals, which is a pretty big game for the NFC East for the Giants. So, yeah. The Giants have looked pretty good this season so far. This game will be on Fox. So, the Giants, the Giants come into this game at 3-7. Bengals are 2-7-1 coming into this game. The Bengals are basically done this season. They lost Joe Burrow last week with that injury. Which he's basically done for the season, I heard. So in this Giants-Bengals game, the Bengals, they're going to be without their quarterback. It looks like the Bengals are going to go to either Allen or Ryan Finley. Expect Daniel Jones to throw a lot in this game, Danny Dimes. But the Bengals do have some good receivers in Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, A.J. Green. They're going to be going up against some cornerbacks from the Giants like James Bradbury and Isaac Yiadom. It looks like the starter for the Bengals will be Brandon Allen. Boyd, he's 12th in the NFL in targets with 87. The Bengals, they're not going to be able to throw a lot, though, with Brandon Allen at quarterback. Bradbury for the Giants, he's playing really well. T. Higgins has looked good for the Bengals. So the Bengals do have some good receivers. They have A.J. Green, who's still a pretty good receiver, but he's averaging just 10 yards on his 35 receptions, sorry about that. The Giants, they should be the favorites in this game. The Bengals don't have Joe Burrow. So this should be the Giants should be able to win this game. the Bengals are going to try to throw in this game because they do have some top targets who are still, who they still have, but it's going to be very difficult. Joe Burrow just played such a big role for the Bengals, and losing him for the entire season just made it so much more difficult. But, this is going to be very difficult for the Bengals. Cincinnati doesn't have really anyone in the backfield. The Giants, they're coming off a 2-game winning streak. Their defense forced 5 takeaways against Washington. And the offense played really well against Philadelphia. We'll see if they can play like that again. The Bengals have a pretty good run defense, which they're going to have to use in this game. But expect us to be a close game because the Giants' offense has struggled at points this season. I think that the Bengals are just going to have to rely on their ground game too much for them to win this game. Their defense too much. So I'm going to take the Giants 21-13 in this one. I just think that they're asking way too much of Brandon Allen in this game, and then he doesn't really have much of a run game, so it's going to be relied on the defense. And then I don't think that Danny Dimes has a perfect game, but I think he has a good enough game for the Giants to win this game. So these are the first half of my NFL predictions. Come back for the rest of them.